a phenomenal day, regardless of how awful things are and how bad they're going to get. So I may have, let me see here. Let me make sure I've got everything I need. I'm sorry. I'm a little unprepared, but this was really just kind of an impromptu live. I wasn't planning on going live. I had been working on some videos, and Malia and I were going to record a podcast with some video, and we're still going to do that. She came under the weather yesterday, and right now she's not here. She had to go out and run some errands, and maybe we'll call her later on during the show since I can port her right in here to the show. But we wanted to review some emails and some comments, but primarily a few different types of emails, and we get these quite often. But it's just more important right now during this time to speak to these and address them. Ordinarily, I wouldn't even address some of these things. But the reason why I'm going to address them is so you're very aware. That's it. It's always just about awareness of how people are reacting. Different types of people. This is the great thing about Christ, is that when you actually read what he understood about people and the times, and we're going to get into that in a bit because I've got something to show you and read you. We have lots of things to really discuss. I just didn't have anything specific in mind as far as timing or anything. So I think we're going to get into some great subjects, though, because right now we have, and this is why these emails will be important, that right now, from an idol worship standpoint, this idol worship is what you're seeing in this country when it comes to party, when it comes to these ideas. These are all idol worship because they have become their identity. So being Republican or right-wing or MAGA, these are all different types of idol worship. This country, patriotism itself is idol worship. Worshiping the Bible. Jesus was very adamant about, you think that in the scriptures you're going to find salvation. You're not. You're not going to find salvation in the scriptures. That's incredible that most people don't even know that he says that. It's incredible how many things I say that he says, and people go, how dare you say that? And I was like, I didn't say it. Jesus did. That guy that you pretend to worship. So it's remarkable. So I'm going to be reading some scripture. I'm going to be reading from Matthew, and also I'm going to be reading two different things from Matthew, actually. I'm going to be reading an older version, an ESV version of Matthew for one portion of the scripture, and I'm going to be reading a brand new version, since there are already thousands of versions of the Bible, thousands. And, you only go on Bible Hub and see a few of them, but there's literally thousands. It's just like there's 44,000 plus denominations of Christianity. Who's right? And why do they have to separate themselves and say you're wrong and I'm right? Well, because they haven't got past the binary system, the still eating from the tree of good and evil, that they think they know the difference between good or evil. And by the way, you don't know the difference between good or evil. Not in this world. Proof, evidence? Are you a Christian? Do you read the Bible? Do you trust the scriptures? Okay, well, then the very first one in the garden, right? Satan. What does he say? The very first words that Satan says in the Bible. What's he say? Eat of this, and you'll be like God, knowing the difference between good or evil. Knowing good or evil. So Satan is the father of lies, right? So his first words in the Bible were the truth or a lie. You won't know the difference between good or evil, and that's why most people are still eating from that tree, and that's why we get comments from these so-called Christians. And it's remarkable that, they fail to understand the narrow gate and what few means. And the correction that they feel that they can give to other Christians to correct them as to what God is thinking or where God's Spirit is. And because God's Spirit is only the way that he translates it. Or she. Only way. That's God's Spirit. It's the only way that they translate it. It is no other way. It doesn't exist. This is why dogma gets booted from my channel. Dogma is death for the mind. And it's remarkable. I was watching a True News episode yesterday with Malia, and True News, they were booted off of YouTube, and I have their videos that come up on the PeerTube, and I'm going to get to that later. But they were discussing, so they're all pastors, And they're discussing, this is just crazy for the mind, and, where you're just not allowed to think any differently. And they're astonished at this, and they're failing, still failing to see what is being done right now to all of us, to anyone that thinks outside of what they say. This is Christ. They are placing the crown of thorns over your head to put your mind in prison, saying the statement that they said about Jesus. You are not allowed to think differently than we tell you to think. And, I posted just a quick little video on TikTok. I don't really pay attention to TikTok, but I'm going to start doing it because it's a great way to get these messages out and people in 1 minute. And it allows people to hear some very astonishing truths that are alive inside of them, and they just pow. But what I was discussing is how we are mind controlled and how that takes place. And so you can begin to recognize these types of things inside of yourself, and then recognize the problem that people have when they interact with you. I can promise you right now, the reason why I'm discussing this is because times are going to become far more difficult for between interactions between you and others. Let's not forget that Jesus said to a person, if I said it here to somebody, they'd probably kill me. But Jesus said this. And so you got to think either he's a callous, heartless man, or there's something else going on. Well, I think he's not a heartless, callous man. But a guy came to him and said, I'd love to follow you, but, my father died. Let me go bury my father. And he said, let the dead bury the dead. Boy, I would be booted off YouTube for saying that stuff. But the reality is he was being honest about a situation. So this interaction with people, see, that statement wasn't taken by the people in the scriptures to be harsh because they understood. Let's not forget, where were they? Well, they were across the river, across the Jordan in the wilderness. Why? Outcast? Yeah, I think so. That's why he could amass 5,000 people. They were there already. They didn't come across the river and go into the wilderness to see him. They were already there. He went out to meet them and to gather them and to tell them how they could be free, because they didn't have a place to escape to like the English did, where they could come over to this country, kill a bunch of indigenous people, and take over. They didn't have that option. The Romans controlled everything. And of course, since the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the whole establishment of which would be really the Republicans and the Democrats, and included in that includes all the religions and everything, right? So imagine that. That's the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Two very, very different, organizations ideologically and scripturally, yet completely cohesive in what they want to accomplish. Both of them hated Jesus, and for good reason, because he said they both suck. And he said that the system sucks, and he tried to get you away from the law. The fulfillment of the law that he spoke of was fulfilling the actual law, not these made-up ones. So remember that Jesus' time was just like right now. That's why it says in Revelation that the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. And also Scripture says that we are saved by what? By the power of the word and our testimony, ours, mine. I'm saved by my testimony, by mine. Not Jesus' testimony. His testimony is the spirit of prophecy, which prophesies that I and you and us will encounter the days of Christ, and we will go through exactly what he went through. There is nothing new under the sun. Or do you think there is? Because there's not. So the idol worship, because people are going to lose their idols. They are going to realize that God, in their mind, the God that they are actually worshiping, they can say that they worship the Father and who Jesus worships. But Jesus so eloquently said, you don't know him. Because if you knew him, you would know me. People call me a blasphemer all the time, say I'm a demon all the time. And I'm like, I'm in great company. Same thing Jesus went through. I'm in great company, and we're apparently at that time, because I'm saying the same thing he's saying. I'm telling you exactly for the same reasons that he was telling you. And others are doing the same. We're going to encounter the tougher times that he spoke of, that great tribulation. That's coming. And it's going to come by ways completely different. This is why he was so adamant that if you're not prepared to leave your family and everything, if you're not prepared and you don't actually prepare your heart to even hate them, if you want to be my disciple, you must first hate your mother, hate your father. Jesus said that, not me. Jesus did. People say, oh, that's not what he meant. Oh, actually it is. The difference is you have to understand the process and then you'll understand it. It's not hatred for them. You first have to recognize how bad you can be. You have to descend into hell and recognize who Satan is. And when you recognize that Satan is an entity in the same way that Christ is an entity, and he exists in the same way that Christ exists. Where does Christ live? Where does he say? In the kingdom. Where did he say the kingdom was? Within you. Where did he say the Father was? Oh, I don't know. Right at his side. It's impossible to avoid these things. It's impossible to avoid and ignore Jesus' words in the high priestly prayer in John, where he prayed that, Father, all of me is in you, and all of you is in me. That means they're complete. And I want them to have all that I have. All. Not some, not part. All of it, folks. All. Now it makes sense when he says you will do greater works than I. Doesn't it? I'll give you time to answer. So these idols are going to break, and they are. Now, for me and Dell, who lives here, we were just discussing this last night, is that since we've been to prison and we've been prosecuted and imprisoned for something that wasn't a violation of the law, but yet they make it that way, we've witnessed the crack in the trust of government because we never thought it could happen. And once it happens to you, you realize it can happen to everybody. Not only do you realize it can happen to everybody, you realize it's going to happen to everybody. Otherwise, they wouldn't have these secret little laws and things that they could falsely prosecute you and actually imprison you. Look what's going on right now. The things with COVID lockdowns and everything, all massively unconstitutional. Nobody even disagrees with that. Except for some say that Dershowitz says that the Constitution provides for the government that they could come and forcefully enter your home and forcefully hold you down and forcefully vaccinate you. Wow. Let me tell you something. Folks, if that is true and the Constitution affords that, wow. Think about that. Oh, clearly, shutting people up, clearly the Constitution is dead. Clearly, Babylon is falling. And this is where I wanted to get to this, because this was a video that we uploaded. This was by a Global Witness follower that released and made, and I'll respect the anonymity of it here. Unless she doesn't mind. I'll see if she pops up in chat and says she doesn't mind. I'm happy to say her name. But she put this together, and I heard it, and I didn't know that she had put it together. And it's remarkable because there's so much. I was like, this is definitely somebody that follows my channel. And she says she doesn't mind. It's Sarah C. So she put this together, and if you haven't seen it, it's the video that was uploaded just before this live show, and you can take a look at it. It has, what does it have? Let me refresh this really quick. So I don't think it's got it's got 6,200 views right now. And of course, it's your typical anonymous video. Now, I also knew, because if you go here to the beginning, you see this little flash right here that's in pink. So right here, if you ever see an anon video that goes kind of pinkish purple right there and then flashes to that and has that's one of my signatures. So that's actually a video that I created. So I knew that somebody had seen one of my videos, and but this is about anonymous Babylon, America the Great. And there are so many vicious comments. I believe some of the moderators have removed some, but I'll go through these. This is what I'm talking about by idol worship, because this is where it comes from. Because absolutely ignoring the thing. Hold on one second. Where did it go? Here, I took some screenshots. I'll just show some screenshots. Oh, it won't let me do that. Gosh dang it, I'm going to have to find these. Or hold on, give me 1 second. I'm just going to read them to you because it won't allow me to put it in the screen for some reason. Humpty Dumpty Love says, America is not Babylon. Babylon will be Gilead in southern Iraq. Well, let me just help with that, Humpty Dumpty Love. I appreciate the sentiment, and I appreciate that we'll be in Gilead, southern Iraq. However, Babylon of old, during those times, was at the meeting of the Tigris and the Euphrates River. Now, Tigris and Euphrates River meet in Baghdad. And all of the uncovering of literally from the ground penetrating radar, everything, that was Babylon. So that was the home of the system, home of the beast, because that is the beast. This is precisely what Christ was even addressing. He was addressing the beast system by turning over the money changers. Money changers. What were they changing money? They were changing money from real silver denarii to fiat crap Roman junk, which was the coin that he said, what's the coin for the tax? And they handed him a coin that had the image of Caesar on it. Right? He said, well, then render unto Caesar's what Caesar's. Give it to him. Give it back. So here's another comment. Let me get to this one. And it says, Babylon the Great, spoken of in the book of Revelations, is absolutely not America. Okay, so I'm going to address the thing in Iraq. That was Babylon. Then recognized the world. That nobody ever disputes that. That was Babylon. And it doesn't say Babylon the Great, spoken of in the book of Revelation. It says Mystery Babylon. It calls it Babylon the Great because that's how people will see it. But it's called Mystery Babylon because they didn't know who or where it would plant itself up. That's how you know that there was a Babylon and now there's going to be a Mystery Babylon, telling you that this repeats itself, that there is nothing new under the sun. These great resets, these end of the ages are controlled by God. Hear me out. Not our Father God, by the little g God, government God, the one that controls and influences them. Yes, there still is very much an enemy. And every country has now gotten and has no other option except to make their governments God because they're all paying their people to be on lockdown, except the United States. This country is the only country, civilized country on earth, not paying monthly payments to their citizens because they've locked the country down. And they're still protesting in the streets in France. And they're still, they get $7,000 a month in France. And they're protesting. And in Germany, they get something like $6,500. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on the accuracy of those numbers. But it's literally close to that amount. And these people are still. And what are we doing? We're not even protesting lockdowns. I mean, there are some. They're not even taking care of you. Do you need anything more to understand that that little g God doesn't give a rat's ass about you? He cares about his kingdom, and they're building it right now. These great resets happen, and they have. They're called the end of the age. And then there is something that Christ talks about in Revelation, the end of the ages, the end of all of it. So we're going to have this reset. It's going to happen, period. Because little g God runs this world, if you didn't know that. Somebody trying to call me doesn't realize that I'm on the show. Clearly not a subscriber. So this little g God runs this. So now people are being forced to worship their governments. And the United States and in this country, they were telling you in subliminal programming, which I've showed on the video, if you recall the video that would play at the end of the national anthem, and they had subliminal words in there that would tell you government is God, never disobey, never rebel, all of that stuff. So they've been programming you for a very, very long time. That's what government, the word means, is mind control. So And if you don't believe me, just look it up. So many of these comments, and some of them really nasty, about this not being Babylon. But I'm telling you, first of all, Babylon is the system, the beast system. So Babylon is where that originates. So you could say that Babylon is definitely either D.C. with the Federal Reserve or New York City, because that's where we've convinced everybody to drink from the abominations of the whore, of the wine of the whore of Babylon. So the United States, the people of the United States, here's what you got to understand. Babylon's the system, and the whore of Babylon is the country itself. Us. We perpetrated this. We've done this. We've been a part of creating wars to enhance the banking systems, to force countries to spend their real gold money and accept ours when we help them rebuild their country with this BS fiat-like currency. Fiat meaning, voila, there it is. It has value. So this video, if you haven't seen it, like I said, go watch it. Sarah C. did an amazing job. It speaks volumes to where we're at and what is going to happen in men's minds. This is why I'm saying it's going to get more difficult for you to contend with people. And this is where Christ would say, hey, you know what? Shake off the dust from your boots. Don't argue. There's no time. Don't let it bring you down. Let no man take your crown. Don't let it. It's going to be easy. It is so hard not to lose your top. It is so hard not to violate that peacefulness. And when Christ came and said, I came to cast fire in the earth and wood that are already kindled, this is it, because he's talking about burning the chaff. Look at this. Look at the dead, the robots. I mean, soulless when it comes to the Father. Absolutely 100% full of spirit and soul if they worship the enemy, the government, and trust them so much. Wait until the armor and that cracks for these people. Big. And it's going to happen. It's going to happen. That crack will be a watershed moment. The dam will break. The dam will bust. And their God will be dead. And then they'll introduce you to the new one. The little g government gods all over the world will unite and bring you a single one. And there won't be any more religion except to worship God, the one world government, and one world religion. Same thing. God is the government, and the religion is worshiping that God. Oh, don't worry. They'll take care of you, the ones that they allow to stick around. And if you're thinking about, well, why would I want to stick around? Well, that's exactly it. See, people will decide all on their own at that very time. That's why he says, when they bring you before that court, don't worry about what you're about to say. The Father will speak for you. And he will. And you'll tell them to pound sand, F-O, do whatever you got to do, but without losing your crown. And you'll be wonderful like Stephen was, and you'll speak words of wisdom to them and hope that any one of them might hear before they kill them, and then you will actually ask the Father to forgive them, for they know not what they do. But you'll give your life for it, because there is no way on this hell hole of an earth run by Satan, literally, owned, operated, this massive, the largest outdoor prison on earth. It isn't Palestine, although, according to the governments, that is an outdoor prison. So I want to read to you something that I posted, and I'm going to read this to you. The latest version to hit the already thousands of versions of the Bible. Matthew 12 from the CWSV version. California Witness Standard Version. Jesus is Lord of lockdowns. At that time, Jesus went through the restaurants during the lockdown. His disciples were hungry and began to eat sushi and other nutritious foods. When the Pharisees saw this, they said to him, "Look, your disciples are doing what is unlawful during lockdowns." He answered, "Haven't you read what Governor Newsom did when he and his co-conspirators were hungry? He entered the French Laundry, the most elite of places, and he and his companions ate and shared food without masks, which was not lawful for them to do, but only for the proven immune? Or haven't you read what your scribes, that the governor, while writing laws on our lockdown, violate the same laws they decree for all citizens and yet are innocent? I tell you that something greater than lockdowns and laws is here. If you had known what these words mean, I desire mercy, not sacrifice, and superstitions, you would not have condemned the innocent, for the Son of Man is Lord of lockdowns. That's the new CWSV version. Now, like I put on Twitter when I posted this, I said, accurate revision. If this one makes you angry, why weren't you angry at the many thousands of translations and removals of scriptures for the last 2,000 years? Just saying, congrats to Gavin Newsom for making the latest Bible revision. This now makes more sense. Recall Gavin Newsom. And I don't even live in California. I just did that so people would read it. But I posted this here on Twitter, and I wrote that. That's why it's under anonymous witness. But since I agree to unmask, I'll tell you, it was me. Absolutely. And people will call me a blasphemer just like that. Same thing they did for Jesus, for changing, not the scriptures, but the meaning by which they were supposed to be meant and understood. That's why he said, I will come to fulfill the law, the real understanding of that, the real understanding of the Constitution, not the one that you're making up right now as you go along. The Bible was rewritten by King James, just so you know, to be more cohesive with government. Gee, I wonder why you do that. A king. Anybody say, oh, King James. King James has a, look, I implore you to hear me. Jesus came here to free you from the law of the government and help you understand the law of the Father that actually was the real law and what it actually meant, not what they had made it, and not what they're going to continue to make it. Why? Why would a king have an interest in freeing the minds of government for the population of the world when he ruled it? Have you ever heard of a ruler voluntarily give up his rulership? Unless he dies. That's why they say this country is great. Oh, the president voluntarily gives it up. That's why they're so mad at President Trump right now. Because you're supposed to just accept fraud and things like that. You're just supposed to accept them. I mean, it's part of the system. Look, you don't upset God. We've all decided the cabal, right wing, left wing. Problem with trying to take down here's what Trump's issue was going to be. He's trying to take down the cabal that runs Washington, D.C., while at the same time being friends with the cabal. Like how we just finally talked about Mitch McConnell and all them. Almost every single Republican that went against him because they're part of it and they're also guilty within it. They all work together, folks. It's a big play if you didn't understand. I mean, right now, geez, what is this? Let's look at this article. We'll have herd immunity by April. Oh my gosh, COVID cases dropped 77% in 6 weeks. Isn't that interesting? It's just about the same amount of time Trump's been out of office, 6 weeks. Yep, 77%. Oh, it's all great. It's all going to be perfect. Don't worry about it. Now we're going to move on to something else. Now that we have you, now they're going to claim this. When they say peace, peace, what happens? Sudden destruction comes. They do this intentionally. So they're going to say this politically and then slam one of these mutant viruses, these mutations of the disease, we'll call it. Crazy. Anyway, for those of you who don't think it's true, California Republicans rip hypocrisy after governor caught dining out amid pandemic. And yes, he went to the French Laundry. It's a very exclusive restaurant in Napa. It's probably anywhere between $1,150 and $2,000 a plate because they serve like this. They serve this incredible 9-course meal, and each course comes with its own specific drink, like a 500-year-old port and all sorts of stuff. It's an incredible restaurant, but it was closed to the public. But they opened it for the governor and everybody so he could come in and they could all not have masks and all that. So the hypocrisy is what? That's what Jesus pointed out continuously. What do you see today? Hypocrisy at levels that's astonishing, so much so it gaslights everybody. Gaslights everyone. Let me see, cover some subjects. Let's go to, this is what I wanted. I wanted to talk to you, as I was saying, but let me close off first. I want to close with the, what America is going to go through, because I really just want you to pay attention to people and understand their psychological position of what they're holding on to desperately. I mean, clinging to their God. There's just no way the government could be that evil. There's just no way. There's no way. No, please, please. Make me an ostrich, God. Help me plant my head deep in the sand. And they do. They convince themselves, and they just walk like zombies amongst us. They can't hear or see any of this. Now you understand when Jesus could open the eyes of the blind and make the mute speak. They couldn't even talk about it. They couldn't talk about what was going on because it would unintentionally reveal something to them, and they would realize that they don't know what's going on. I talked to a couple friends of mine over the past week, and one of them extremely liberal. Well, actually, both of them are very liberal. But it's funny as I speak to these folks, and they're still in business, and they're still. But it's amazing right now. They're finally getting to a place where they say, "I don't know what to believe anymore. I don't know what to believe." Well, that's a start. And my response is always, don't believe anything. Nothing. Well, what do you mean? He says, nothing. Not even your real last name, like your last name or what you think is your last name. Nothing. Because things have been changed over many, many thousands of years for the same types of reset that we're about to go through, or that we are actually going through. So, wow, good to see. We don't have a massive audience because I don't have some inflammatory title. It just says Global Witnesses Live. So I really appreciate everybody just popping over here and seeing what I was going to talk about. Say hello to Thomas Lynch. Good to see you. Kelly, Spirit of Christ, G. Meisner, James Lawmiller, Shane Hamilton, Sarah C., the creator of that video. She's in the house. Robert Francis, John Allen, Hopi NG. Good to see you, Hopi. Good to see you. Not sure who else I've missed in here. I'm going to be, and stick around because I want to show you a beautiful group of people on Etsy for something that I think that you may need because they're very calming. So, and many people are going to need these things. But before I move on, I wanted to read from the book of Matthew. I'm going to go here to the book of Matthew. So we had just read this revised portion of Matthew, but I'm going to go down here to Matthew 22 through 37. And I felt led to do this and go through this one more time because how people are going to be changing, and because the things that you know, and because of how you will speak about these things to other people. What's going to happen is they will attack you in these ways. And so this is where you really need to understand Christ's words and why he was speaking about things. And so this is from the ESV version for those of people that got mad at the California Standard Version. So this is, again, like I said, Matthew 12:22 through 37. Then they brought him a demon-possessed man who was blind and mute, and Jesus healed him so that he could both talk and see. All the people were astonished and said, "Could this be the son of David?" Because the revelation, no matter what, when you see somebody rising again, they died to themselves and they rose new, knowing who they are and knowing the difference of this world. They know where they're at. They can see everything died to them. It's an awakening that is astonishing to be a part of. When the Father speaks to you in declaratives, directives, tells you what to do And all of it comes in the same. And you understand it by its fruit because of what it accomplishes. It doesn't accomplish the thing that this evil, nasty, lower G God would. Killing women, children, insects, everything. Hating people. Yeah, that God hates in the scriptures. So, and they said, could this be the son of David? But when the Pharisees heard this, they said, it is only by Beelzebul, the prince of demons, that this fellow drives out demons. Here's the amazing part about this statement. This is what I love about reading scripture. And I love that the Father has given me a lens, and I know it's not my lens. I know it's his, but I'm thankful that he's given me access to it. But when the Pharisees heard this, they said, it's only by Beelzebul, the prince of demons, that this fellow casts or drives out demons. They acknowledge that he drove out demons. Well, what were the demons that he drove out? They're acknowledging the demonic possession of this man. They're acknowledging that there was something that this man had, and they recognized it as demons. But also remember this. Have you ever read about all of the demons in the Old Testament? No, you haven't? Well, that's because there aren't any. They only show up when Jesus shows up. You hear me? They only show up when Jesus shows up. When he's present, boy, they're very visual and visible to even their families. And they bring them to him. Hey, my kid has a demon. Why? Well, they probably understood Christ's words and awakened. And the child didn't. I'm not saying that's exactly what it is, but this helps you think through this as what are they experiencing? Because we're going through this today and you can see it. Sorry about that. Let me get some water. It's hard talking in this microphone so much. And I think the microphone actually sucks the moisture out of your mouth. Sorry about that. So, and he said, Jesus knew their thoughts. So here's the thing. The Pharisees said, but it says he knew their thoughts. And he said, every kingdom divided against itself will be ruined, and every city or household divided against itself will not stand. If Satan drives out Satan, he is divided against himself. How then can his kingdom stand? And if I drive out demons by Beelzebul, by whom do your people drive them out? Think about that. If I drive them out by Satan, then who do your people drive them out with? They can't even answer that because they don't believe in the entities, but they recognize them when he casts them out. There are so many things about these scriptures that aren't ever discussed, aren't even ever broached in a church. And if they do, they're a sideline church that they've been banished out of all the denominations. This is the best part, though. So then they will be your judges. Listen to that. If I drive out demons by Beelzebub, by whom do your people drive them out? So by whom does that? They will be your judges. But if it is by the Spirit of God that I drive out demons, then the kingdom of God has come upon you. Now, this is very important. So when people come, this is why you have to have grace and mercy for people and understanding, because the damage that they'll do to themselves by how they react to you, they may not be able to recover from. And he addresses this right here. Or again, how can anyone enter a strong man's house and carry off his possessions unless he first ties up the strong man? What does that mean? Hey, how can I come into Satan's house and cast out demons unless I first tied him up? Then he can plunder his house. Tell you, man, Christ was, he was a serious ass dude. And people go, how could you talk about him that way? Oh, that's with tons of love and affection. The respect, the honor. I can worship Christ in him. I don't worship another man, but I worship Christ. That spirit, absolutely, because it's the same spirit that's in me. And if you know what I'm speaking of, it's the same spirit that's in you. So he said, whoever is not with me is against me, and whoever does not gather with me scatters. And so I tell you, every kind of sin and slander can be forgiven, but blasphemy against the Spirit will not be forgiven. Anyone who speaks a word against the Son of Man will be forgiven. Speak the word against me as a person. Oh, you're a crappy guy. I don't like the sound of your voice. I think, you're an idiot. Whatever. You'll be forgiven. If somebody says that about you, you'll be forgiven. Consider yourself the Son of Man. When you're in Christ, you're the Son of Man. The Son of Man being returning to Adam before the tree, not accepting the tree of good or evil, choosing the tree of life. Do you understand? Now, do you understand the Son of Man? You become the Son of Man when you die to that tree of good and evil and you begin living by the tree of life. That tree of life is a very, very slim rod in between two flaming swords that spin in both directions. Boy, how narrow is that gate and how few go through it. And by the way, single file. But anyone who speaks against the Holy Spirit will not be forgiven either in this age or in the age to come. Now, why is this? Because when he speaks against the Spirit, the thing that is prophesied and said, the Spirit said, here's what's coming and this is what you need to do. You need to free yourself. Now imagine when that crack through that armor breaks and the dam goes and everything is crushed and you're the only one that warned them. You're the only one that spoke to them. They will know at that moment that they had listened to the Spirit of God and that it was right and that it was true, and they are perishing. Now they're going to die as a result of this. And they won't be able to undo what they said. And their consciousness will have maintained and will be auto-repeating itself, telling them 1 billion times about every time that they had done just that. How do you free yourself from that? Forgiving yourself right now before any of that is hard enough. And that's what you have to start with. Forgiveness begins with forgiving yourself, understanding that you are forgiven and that it's not your fault and repenting from it. That means repentance doesn't mean, oh, please forgive me. It means turning away from it. Don't do it again. Don't do it again. And how do you know whether you're violating the Father's law? Well, the Father's law is love. Straight up. All other laws are a derivative of that. And if you think love is always nice and peaceful and loving, well, it is, but sometimes it doesn't feel that way. So don't misunderstand it or not recognize it. Sometimes love can be some tough stuff to hear. Love can be some very difficult things to hear. That's why I encourage you to forgive yourself, then begin forgiving others, because otherwise, what good was your forgiveness for yourself? That's how you do that. First, forgive yourself and recognize just what an amazing thing it is that you're forgiven. And when you do, and that your consciousness, you release that your spirit transfigures itself. Your soul, your mind, your heart changes. It changes in how you see and view people and what's going on. And many times people won't understand that, and they'll see that as being bad. It's not a finger of judgment pointing at them. It's just, hey, I don't participate in that. Yeah, I don't do that. And then the things you speak will sometimes destroy their version of what they think. So here's what you need to expect. When you tell somebody one of these truths and they lose their minds and they want to argue and debate, the only reason they need to debate, they do not think that they're going to change your mind based on the conviction that you spoke it. They know they're not going to change your mind. The only reason, again, understanding the psychology, the only reason they will want to have an argument with you is because what you said damaged their belief. And they need to hear themselves, like magical spells, hear themselves speak what they believe again so they can reconfirm to themselves, yep, I still got it. I still believe that. They need to. Don't give them the opportunity. Whatever you broke in their belief system with the truth is the most valuable piece of information you will ever give them. Ever. And then shake off the dust from your boots. And don't be concerned with how they progress. They will either express that truth, and that truth will become alive in them, and it will tear down everything, allowing them to see everything else clearly. And if that happens, they'll come and find you. Don't worry about it. Don't seek them out. They'll seek you out. And then you'll know. And then you'll know. I have more people that come to me and say, boy, I cursed you out. I hated you when I first heard you, but you said something I could not get out of my heart. And that changed. And I came back and I listened again, and wow, I get that all the time. That's why when people chew me out, that's why I don't like to talk about them. That's why we're going to talk about this one email. I don't like bringing that up to somebody because I don't want to bring somebody up in a video where it seems permanent. Right? So even if they forgive themselves and they come seek forgiveness from me, it was still part of that video and it still influenced other people. I don't like doing that unless showing you that condition. Like I don't have to show their name. I don't do that. But showing the condition and what they're doing and how they see it for themselves, how they're storing up for themselves from the debt system that we've been taught to live in. Everything is debt, including spiritual, physical, and emotional debt. People coming and sending me emails to tell me, correct me that, I know what you're saying and everything's great, but you don't know the Spirit of God. You've never had an encounter with God. I have, and I know. And tell me more about this. And if you tell me and you're lying, I'll know it. I mean, the arrogance of people. We'll get into it. Then you'll understand the psychological condition of that. And all of a sudden, before you know it, you're going to understand that you have, probably 12 general ideas of psychological conditions of people and personality mixes with those, which Christ had in his 12 disciples. He could tell you what they were and who they were, and so they represent those conditions, and how he was addressing them would allow them all to address the populace in large, because we're reduced down to this programming identity level. And they're reducing that even greater, right? This whole identity politics, the nonsense of everything in this world right now is just terrifyingly scriptural. It's just happening faster than we anticipated. So, I wanted to, and that's all I was going to read from that. I wanted to talk to you about that because it goes with what I was talking about, that these people are breaking down and they bring that to you. Forgive them. Just forgive them. Don't fight with them. Don't argue with them. And again, helping people understand what is going on in the world. We'll change gears here just a little bit, and I want to play this for you because this is Jimmy Dore, and he's talking about, so a lot of people here are probably firearms owners and, believe in the Second Amendment and all of that, and I agree people should be able to have a weapon. I don't believe in killing anybody, but for whatever purpose you need it for, there are lots of purposes in this world to have a weapon. One of the main ones is actually having the ability to get food if you are dying of starvation and to be able to get it fairly easy. But this is why when I talked to you through lots of other videos talking to you about, QAnon being a psyop that disarmed people. Only it says, I'm getting an error for my stream. I don't know what's going on. Don't know if you can hear me or see me right now, but it says I got an error. I'll keep talking. Let me know in chat if something's screwed up, because I don't want to. Okay, I'll pay attention to the chat here for just a second. But I wanted to play this Jimmy Dore clip, just the beginning of it. I'm not going to play the whole video, just probably about a minute and a half. And perfect, you can hear me. That's good. I don't know why. Let me see if I can refresh this. I'm sorry, folks. See if it changed. Nope, still says it's there. Interesting. Do not know why, but it says I'm still live. All right. So this Jimmy Dore video, the reason why I wanted to play this is because I said it's psyop, and this is how these things trickle through people's minds. And I thought this is amazing because, Jimmy Dore is a progressive. He, would vote Democrat, would never vote for a Republican, even though he probably bashes Biden and Bernie Sanders more than he does Trump, although he used to be a Bernie Sanders fan and so on. So this is a guy in the middle of waking up, but an incredibly intelligent guy that looks at things from a very different perspective. And I thought it was important for you to hear, because this is exactly what I was talking about by having a disarmed, disabled population by way of a QAnon psyop, believing the plan that, we don't need to do that. So listen to this.
I'll tell you what my position on the Second Amendment is. Constantly changing. I used to be totally against guns. Totally. Then I was like, wait a minute. The government is then the only people with the guns, and look what they did to the Branch Davidians, and look what they're doing to, but I don't like that, and the blah, 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 blah. And then I went the other way. I was like, no, we need to have guns to protect ourselves. And then they took away all our rights anyway. They took away our Fourth Amendment, or our right to privacy, our search and seizure. We live in a surveillance state. Every email and text and phone call I make, the government has a copy of it, and no one gives a fuck, and we still have our guns. So I don't think our guns are really protecting us. So I went back. I know I'm back against being against guns. Now, I do not like the idea that the government are the only people with the guns. But they have bigger guns. And so they'll probably always win. And the people who said they needed their guns to protect ourselves from the tyranny of the government never did. The government came for our rights and our freedom, and those people with the guns never did a fucking thing about it.
There you go. There you go. Not a thing. So what were they for? It's the nonsense, the craziness of the theatrics that we live in today is astonishing. So I wanted to cover, we're going to do a couple things before I close out here. I wanted to show, first of all, this is our RenewTube. This is our RenewTube server here. And I'm going to show you, this is the kind of content we have on here. There's plenty, Dollar Vigilante, Max Egan, all stuff that has been banned by YouTube. You'll see yours truly in here. Great videos. All of my videos are in here, or almost all of them. They're still ingesting. I've got tons and tons of videos coming in here. No More News. I believe High Impact Flicks. We're bringing in Corbett reports, things like that. Lots and lots and lots of content coming into this system. And all things that all of you, pretty well, I'm trying to keep this as clean as possible, even when I follow other servers, that I don't end up with content that isn't relevant to the audience that would be coming here. I don't want to have, I don't want to have content in here like, I don't know, Japanese animation or things like that. So this isn't that kind of site, but it does have a tremendous amount of content. And like I said, videos that are not just banned from YouTube, but basically banned from the world. You can't even find them. So we've got a ton of stuff in here. And all of, like I said, all of my videos. And here is this video right here, The Government's Virus for Your Mind, a Dire Warning. If you haven't seen that and you're just new to this channel, you can go to renewtube.org and you can watch all these videos and know that they'll never go anywhere. And by the way, when you're here, if you want to download them, right, you just open that video. If you want to download one of my videos and you want to save all my videos, you just open that video and then you go over here to these little 3 dots here and you click download. Hey, look at that. Just download. Isn't that nice? Just download right from the place. I'm starting to also populate with Project Veritas, because I don't think they're going to be on YouTube very much longer, as long as they're attacking other social networks. Or I wouldn't say attacking, they're really just exposing, but they would see it as an attack. So there's that. This is somebody I wanted to introduce everybody to. These folks have been incredibly supportive. They sent us some unbelievable gifts. The copper work and the crystals within the work of Gorgeous Awesome. I just want to send you there. It's etsy.com/shop/gorgeous awesome. Just remarkable. And these folks have been just incredible. Look at these. These are chakra strands, and they're larger than they look. They've got smaller versions of them. These are just beautiful. And, if you know anything about crystals, anybody that says, oh, crystals are demonic or satanic, but yet at the same time say that nature and everything is the Father's, then, just rethink your mind. Use some real logic, not what somebody told you or what you read in a book or your pastor said crystals are evil and that they're new age. Crystals have been used by the spiritual gurus of planet Earth for many, many, many thousands of years, and somehow it's new age? I don't think so. So just gorgeous things. I mean, just beautiful, beautiful. I wanted to make sure that I, send them out, shout out, and send them some love there. Also give you, look at that. We're live on, wanted to make sure that there we are. We're live on, also on the Global Witness social site here, which is theglobalwitness.org. And if you want to go to the video site, it's renewtube.org. Renewtube, RENEW, TUBE.org, O-R-G. We've got a little over 1,000 members here on the website. It's building up a great community. And, it's great. I have access to, obviously, to the server, so I can see all of the videos or all of the pictures, profile pictures and things that people have posted just in kind of my media bin, because it's the server. And I just love being able to glance through here and just seeing everybody's face. I just wanted to let you know, I love all of you. The mere fact that you're here, my heart swells with joy that people have heard truth. They've heard truth, and I'm just ever so thankful that anyone has heard any of these truths. And just wonderful. Look at all these great faces. Wonderful people. So it's filling up quickly there, so go on over there. And before we leave, I just thought I would play a song and let you read the lyric. This is by a good friend. You've heard it. Many people have requested this, so I'm going to close out the show with this and just sit and listen with you probably. I'm not quite sure whether I'll be on camera. And love you all back. Kelly, Spirit of Christ, Lynn McGraw, I Believe, the Scrub Watchman. Good to see you, Scrub. Love you much. Mark Ellen Staley, Nancy Smith. Good to see you, Laurel and Laurel Ryder. Good to see you. So this is the song that I play sometimes at the beginning of the show. It's called Hero with 1,000 Eyes by Steve Lukather. And Steve Lukather is the guitar player for Toto. I'm very good friends with the whole band of Toto, have been for a long time. And Steve allowed me, and he sent me this song some time back. It's that's why you don't see even any copyright even on this site, because it's just one of the songs that he's written. So, excuse me, dry, Arizona desert. So let's play this song and listen to the lyrics, and you'll understand why I have this song on my show.
Somehow it's always right against wrong, always the chance of temptation.
I'll cut this out over the re-upload. Just playing it for the live entertainment. Well, all, I love you very much, and I'm thankful that you joined the show today. And I will definitely see you soon. Go visit renewtube.org and theglobalwitness.org. We love you very much, and we're going to talk to you, I mean, really soon.